Bay Area Discs 2016 Youth Ultimate Coaching Conference.
Good afternoon. How you guys all doing? Good. You guys have a good lunch? Yeah. Great. Okay, so the hope is that we're going to spend the next hour talking about the three levels of Ultimate that all of you are familiar with at this point, which is going to be youth, college, and club. And we have brought representatives from all three divisions, mainly out of the Bay Area, with one special exception of adding HA here. And it's my pleasure to introduce all of these panelists here. I have gotten to know many of them indirectly and directly through various playing or coaching opportunities. By the way, my name is Slap. I am a player. I am on the board of directors for Bay Area Disc, and I'm also a coach. And so, again, it's my pleasure to introduce these individuals. Let's start on the my left, which is Libby over here. Libby is the coach of California Roll, which you'll be hearing so much about today. And we'll be hearing more from her later. Hannah is one of the founding members of California Roll. She's one of two individuals who started this team. And her counterpart is not here, but her counterpart sent her mother, which is Jennifer, who's over here as well. You've already had the pleasure of meeting HA. She's the organizing body, basically, for GUM, also representative here from USAU. To my right, we have Lauren. She is currently the captain for Nightwalk, which is one of the Bay Area Women's Clubs teams here. We have Speedy, who I am really excited of having on this panel because Speedy has been playing longer than Hannah has been born. I know.
We don't look at.
Thanks. And so Speedy is currently a player for Nightlock and has been playing also college, played for Cal, which leads us to Cora, who's over on the right. Cora is currently the captain for Cal, and that is the team that I coach, so I bribed her to come here. So folks, we are here to talk about basically the interactions between youth, club, and college and how we as coaches can help facilitate both growth and more importantly, how to keep our players. So when I spoke to these individuals, I sent out an email a couple days ago. I said, listen, the two things we want to talk about is recruitment and retention, which is something that I think all of us in this room care very deeply about. And so really what I want to start with is I want to start with California Roll because while you're hearing this name, I think you really need to know the story behind California Roll. So I'm going to put Hannah on the spot to start and give us a little background. What's California Roll?
California Roll is our Bay Area high school girls team. We started it 2 years ago, I think. This will be our third year. We go to Westerns. Chloe is my co-captain. She wasn't able to be here, but we play on an open team at our high school, and we kind of wanted to give a bunch of the other newer girls an opportunity to play in a place where they wouldn't have to worry about being, bullied or being worried about how they're playing. And so we started a girls team to give them the opportunity to do that, and we go to Westerns every year, and it's super fun.
Well, so I'm going to ask you some more questions, and Jennifer's going to help you out. How old were you when you guys started the team?
15.
15?
Yeah.
15.
Sure.
And so you guys were already playing at a high school team, correct?
Yes.
And it's a co-ed team, in fact.
It's an open team.
Open team. It's described as open.
Yes.
Okay. And so the two of you were the only two girls on that team?
Freshman year.
Freshman year, there were some other girls, but they didn't come, and they weren't actively participating on the team. So yeah, we were the only two girls.
Well, what got you involved?
My dad plays Ultimate, and so he's been taking me to the field ever since I was a little kid. And I would sit on the sidelines, and sometimes they would let my brother and I mark each other. And then I started playing on a team in 6th grade, and the former coach of Fury was actually my middle school coach in 7th and 8th grade. So that was really cool, and then I just kept playing.
That's awesome. And then how did you find Libby?
Lindy,
I'm sorry.
I actually don't know.
I respond to Hey You as well.
Oh, what's your name?
Jordan, who had been one of the coaches and I think originally started the Berkeley High School team, was a friend, and I moved out here a few years ago. I'd been coaching high school ultimate in Philadelphia. I'd been coaching high school ultimate in Philadelphia and helped found a girls team there with Radnor High School. And also been the president of the high school ultimate league in Philadelphia. And Jordan knew all that and said, hey, Berkeley's growing as a program. We always need more coaches, but specifically we need a girls coach. to really come in and help kind of foster this program and really build it. And we've done that. Originally we were getting 7 or 8 girls out to practice. Now we're averaging about 18. And that's just and this is the 3rd year that the program's existed. So it's been a nice evolution. And while we do refer to it as high school, it's actually inclusive. And so we also get 7th and 8th graders who are very mature for their age and come out to our practices as well. And on rare occasions, we will let an 8th grader come with us. And when USAU has been kind enough to let us to Westerns as well.
Well, so that leads right into HA, actually. So HA and I were just briefly talking about, just before we started here, about an award that was given to both Hannah and Chloe. So,
yeah, there was a Without Limits Organizing Award that was given to Hannah and Chloe, was it last year or a year before? 2 years ago.
2 years ago. I
2
think
years
the first
ago.
year the team was.
And to recognize them, it was the Jumpstart Award, to recognize them for kind of coming out and creating this culture and creating this space for girls to play. And it was the only youth who were given one of the Without Limits Award. And Without Limits, for those who don't know, is Michelle Ng is kind of everything behind Without Limits, which is a women's focus, mostly at the college level, organizing for women to be able to play Ultimate, more opportunities in that category. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
awesome. So because we don't want to ignore this side, for the most part, we have club and college, correct? So let's kind of start. I mean, Speedy, you've been playing for so long. What are you up to? What are you up to?
What am I up to?
Yeah. Where did you start?
I started playing when I was a freshman at Cal.
What year?
Dang, girl! We're going there right away. All right. I started college in 1997. I started.
There you go. See, now you just feel young.
Yeah, I am. Come on. And I was actually introduced to Ultimate by my friend, my very good friend's older sister played in Santa Cruz, and she came with us in high school on a cross-country trip to Hawaii, which is awesome. But she brought a disc, and we were playing, and I had never heard of it before. And then when I got to college, I liked to, I wanted to play sports, but I was not a D1 athlete, so didn't make any of those teams. But there was Ultimate, and from the first day I went out there, I just fell in love. My first week, I went to a tournament, which was awesome, and it was just, I think for me, like I was telling Slap earlier, it's the culture and the people, that's what keeps me playing.
We'll come back to that. So, Cora, what about yourself?
So I actually hadn't really heard of Ultimate until undergrad, where I was at Indiana University. But I do recall that my high school cross-country team would occasionally play on the football field sometimes while everyone else was doing track practice. So Youth Ultimate was not a thing around my area. And then in undergrad, I became involved in other things. So I actually didn't start playing competitive Ultimate until I came to Cal as a grad student. And that's when I started playing. I played my first year with the B team, the Tarts. And then I've been with the A team, High Queens, for 3 years now. Yeah, so.
And what do you do on the Queens right now?
Oh, I'm a captain. Yeah, I was a fall captain, which was absolutely amazing. Such a wonderful experience to be a fall captain, because the fall is a time when we recruit a lot of girls, a lot of women, and try to keep them playing Ultimate. And then, yeah, now I'm a spring captain.
And then last but not least, Lauren. Where did you start playing?
I started playing Ultimate at UC San Diego in the fall of 2007.
See Prof in the back. I'm a UCSD alum as well, guys. Sorry, full disclaimer.
So that year we actually didn't participate in the college series because we weren't allowed to. But for after that first season, I just kept playing. So I played in 2009 and 2010. I captained the Psychos in 2010, and then I actually stopped playing Ultimate for a couple of years. And then I moved up to the Bay Area and have been playing for the past 3 years, and now I'm the captain of Nightlock, or one of 3 captains of Nightlock.
So, basic story is you have a lot of experience from the women on this panel, and the goal is to try and provide resources for you as coaches and those who are watching for what it is that brings women and girls to play Ultimate, but more importantly, what keeps them playing. And so really what my goal is to kind of just run down the table to really talk about people's thoughts. And I'm going to start with Cora because I think that her experience is definitely helpful. She said she was a fall captain, and for those of you who aren't familiar with that term, Cal has basically a fall and then a spring. And the fall is an opportunity to build and recruit and retain. And then the spring is where we create 2 squads from there. And so my goal is to really just kind of offer some insight from the women on this panel as to what they think is the reason we can bring women in and what keeps women playing. That's our goal. Because the goal is that if Hannah, she's going to Tufts next year. I'm going to be coaching against her next year, okay? But to get Hannah to where Speedy is, how do we make that happen? And to keep Speedy engaged with someone like Hannah, how do we make that happen? That's the purpose of today's panel. So I'm going to put Cora on the spot first, and let's see if we can go down and offer some insight for the individuals who are here.
Yeah, so a bit of personal experiences from being a fall captain, but also watching some of my teammates. So we have a rookie who came in the fall, and she's a freshman. She's a true rookie. She had never played Ultimate before, but she came in really interested in soccer. And we just happened to, catch her during one of these recruitment events where we are, saying you look like an Ultimate player, you look like an Ultimate player, you should come play with us for a little bit. So she was active in both clubs, the club women's team in the fall and also on the club soccer team. And the club soccer team was pretty serious. They were considering going to nationals and things like that. But this individual, we converted her to Ultimate. And the reason that she keeps saying that she chose Ultimate is because of the community. So we, as fall captains, there are 3 of us, we tried really hard to build up our entire program and make it a very welcoming environment, a very fun environment, and start building friendships from day one. And one of the things that this rookie has repeatedly said is that she has never experienced such a community feeling from any other sport. Basketball, soccer, any of the sports she's played, she's never felt such a tight-knit community of athletes before. So I thought that was really cool and really interesting. And that's how we got one really awesome rookie hooked onto Ultimate. Yeah.
Well, so Speedy, you hear that, and you made that comment actually to begin with, that the reason you keep playing is because of this community. What about that resonates with you or you think is helpful for, again, recruiting and retaining women?
I think it is community, but it's also for me, one really awesome thing that I did my first year, my coach was Matty Sang, who I think a lot of people know. He used to coach Cal. And, huh?
And Hannah when she was at Willard.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, he's coached so everyone. That's so funny. Yeah, okay, so he's been around. So, but when I was at Cal, my freshman year, there was a time when there was club regionals were being played in Davis, and he was going, his wife now, but she played on a club team, but he asked all of us if any of us wanted to go, and I had just started, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go and watch this, and it was incredible to see these women. There's a team called Homebrew that doesn't exist anymore, but it was this team that I so wanted to play on when I saw them. They had this spirit and this love for each other, and just watching them play, one of their mottos was the most fun wins. It was a very competitive team, but you could see how much joy they had to play together, and that is something that I think for me in all of my years why I keep playing, because my team is like my family. I'm still very close friends with about 10 of my teammates. We still keep in touch, and we try to get together and all of these things. So I think it's like that community feeling that you can foster, and that those women that you can look up to, you know, the older players and the coach, you know, introducing you to the, you know, this people that you can look up to that keep you playing, I think, when you're younger.
Well, so hearing that, I mean, Lauren, you said you stopped playing for a while. I mean, what happened?
For me, like, I had stopped playing after college because I felt like my options were kind of limited, and something in my life that's really important to me are like the people that I'm around and the culture that I'm in, whether it's ultimate or even work. That's kind of been like the driving factor in a lot of decisions that I made. And at that point, I just felt like the culture of the like Frisbee options that I had weren't that great. I was still very involved. I was a college regional director and things like that. So I definitely still loved playing ultimate, but at that point I found different ways to kind of stay involved. But it comes back also to community. Like, those people who I met in college are still some of my really good friends, and I feel like I just meet great people along the way. Like, I moved up to the Bay Area 3 years ago, not really knowing anybody, but knowing a lot of people who played ultimate, and they helped me find where I'm living. That's how I've gotten my last 2 jobs, like things like that, and the culture and community. And I think like really bringing in those aspects, and especially emphasizing that with even like at the youth level, because like those girls are like, they're so malleable at that age, and like just really encouraging their individual growth and like being their own people, but being welcoming of that is really important, and something that I've come to find a lot within the ultimate community.
Well, so now let's turn to this side, because most of you are very youth-focused, let's say the least, and you hear this feedback from this side. I mean, how do you apply what they're saying in your day-to-day operations, whether it's as a coach or as a player or as an organizing body or even as a parent? I mean, what tools are you using at this point right now to help either facilitate this or grow this or I don't know, move away from it?
Sure. I came to Ultimate a little bit late, you know, started after college, but since yes, I played rugby in college, Hannah, forgive me. But since then, I've come to believe that Ultimate truly is one of the most accessible sports in the world, and that you have to start this early, and that a lot of the girls on our team, this is the first sport they've ever played. And the wonderful thing about Ultimate is that it accepts everybody from any shape and size. And that you don't have to have been an athlete, you know, from birth. That you could be the person, you know, who does the school plays, and you can come out and learn to play Ultimate. And that Ultimate welcomes everybody. And it's really neat seeing these girls that hadn't played sports before really embrace Ultimate. And some of them have become handlers, and some of them have become cutters, and some of them love defense. But it's really neat seeing how they've adopted it. And how it's become part of their identity, especially, you know, as girls hit growth spurts at different stages than boys do, and they go through different insecurities at different times. Ultimate has become something that a lot of them turn to, and that they feel good about themselves on the field. And so it's encouraging that, I think.
Oh, so Hannah, hearing all of that, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on you right now. I mean, what are you hearing are things that you've tried to adopt as a player and as a captain?
I've tried to make the community, again, to bring up the community, I think everyone's talked about that a little bit, just something that's really welcoming and really open. I came from soccer to Ultimate. I played soccer for 9 years, which is currently more than half of my life. And I don't want to say it's toxic, because I did enjoy it. I did play it for 9 years, but when I got to the more competitive stages, people were just so mean to each other, and it got to be so it wasn't fun. I didn't like going to practice. I didn't like going to games, and I eventually quit, which was probably one of the best decisions I've made. And then I came to Ultimate, and everyone was so nice, and there was this thing called spirit of the game that I told my soccer teammates about that, and they were like, "What's that? What's the spirit of the game thing that you do? What are friends in this? Like, I don't know." And then trading jerseys with people after tournaments, that's also something that's not in soccer at all. You don't trade your jersey with someone after the season. You keep it, and it's just so much more of a community. And I've tried to open that up to the new girls so that they feel comfortable coming in and they feel comfortable staying, because we want them to stay.
So Jennifer, now coming as a parent, I mean, you're seeing your daughter come home one day and she's like, "I want to play Frisbee." And you're obviously, I felt like your first question would have been, "What?" And you know, Chloe's gone through so much in the last couple of years.
Yes, and I think, you know, I come from the practical side of it. Like, I'm not a player, I'm not a coach. I just, you know, I am here to support my children and Youth Ultimate and girls in particular. And what I'm seeing happening now is because my girls have played on like open teams, they played on mixed teams, they played on girls teams, and it really stems from coaching. I think a lot of it has to do with the climate that the coaches create for the players, and every, you know, we have a female coach, we have male coaches, we have you know, mixed coaches, and I think that giving these girls opportunities for leadership by making them captains is, you know, on teams is really important for them. I think, you know, having equal play time and as many touches on the discs. I mean, I hear this. I get what I hear from my kids when they come back from practices or games, or and like, I was in that game and I didn't touch the Frisbee once, you know, that kind of a thing when they're on certain teams. And then coming to a female team where, you know, they're handlers and they're touching the disc, like, you know, all the time. They're getting assists, they're getting goals, they're scoring all the time. So it's, you know, and that I think comes a lot from the climate that the coaches create for the teams. And I think it's really important, and especially for retention, I think it has to be something that is, like Hannah said, open, and the culture and the community is there for everyone, and boys and girls. I'm not just trying to exclude the boys because I have girls, but I think that it is important, and it's important that they create this safe and, you know, opening environment for all players.
Great. We'll just now finish up with AJ. I mean, you're hearing all of this feedback, and I'm sure you hear it all the time. You're traveling the country at this point, basically, getting this feedback from both club and college and youth players. I mean, what tools do you think at this point, I'm sure you've talked about it before, that can help facilitate this type of, again, growth, both as an individual and also as a sport?
I think it's kind of connecting the dots, right? We talked about it a little bit in the GUM clinic component of having different levels. I kind of call it the waterfall effect sometimes, having club players out there as role models and mentoring at the college level, having college players out there as role models and mentoring at the high school level, high schoolers, middle school, et cetera. You know, one of the things I do when I coach YCC, U16 girls team in the summer, is encourage them to run clinics, encourage them to get out there and feel like they have the ability to be part of this, right? It's not just, you know, we're all out there trying to create more opportunities for girls. We want them also to feel ownership and involvement in that in the same way they do in a team, and kind of building that culture of we're all doing this together. And that's something that kind of I've seen happen with the Seattle girls that I'm around all of the time. At the first YCC tryout, had a few of my girls from last year bring everyone in, get everyone ready and fired up for tryouts, do the warm-up. And the last year at YCC tryouts, everything was really quiet. Like, all the girls are so nervous. And all of a sudden, you have these 3 or 4 vocal leaders who have been in the program for 2 years and who have been doing that coaching at different levels. And I come up to the circle, and all the girls are chatting, and they have everyone fired up. And they're like, "Let's do a cheer." One of the girls like, "Yeah, let's go. Let's cheer GUM." Like, yes! It's great. And hearing them kind of have that involvement. You know, I had a player contact me in the fall who said, "Hey, my friend and I, we're going to run like a winter camp for some kids at the park. And so we were just wondering if you could give us some tips and some drills, but, you know, we're gonna run this like camp for elementary school kids over winter break." And I think that, like, having that kind of role model effect and empowering the girls and giving them the tools they need to be able to be those leaders, both on their own team but also in the broader community, is pretty important.
I mean, now I guess let's you and I talk, because we're both coaches. Take that title and run with it, okay? But I mean, what are you doing in terms of of helping facilitate. I mean, you've gone from what? How many girls to 18 this year? You're at
They
18
always
right
feel
now.
that I think we started out with 12.
Yeah, we had 12 at our first Westerns, and that was because we borrowed some people from around California.
Well, so I mean, like, what are you doing when these girls are out recruiting? Are you at the tables with them? What are you providing them in terms of resources or support?
It's a
As
little
a
bit more
coach.
behind the scenes because we want to empower them to go out and do it. It's one thing, myself in my 30s talking to some 12-year-old, that's nice, but it's better when they see Hannah and Chloe and Lauren and all these other girls that are on the team out there doing it and loving it, as opposed to I can talk at them, they can talk to them, and that's a huge difference. So it's doing that. Val has started a wonderful program in the Bay Area called L2P, so supported that last year. I don't know if they did it this year. I know Nicole was helping out. No, I know they did L2P, but in conjunction with that last year, Maddie actually ran a program helping other coaches come in and learn to coach in conjunction with teaching these girls to play. And it was kind of funny going around the circle with the coaches prior to starting that clinic because a lot of them were nervous about it. They did, despite the fact that they were some of the top players in the U.S. or internationally, they were very nervous about getting up and coaching in front of these kids. And so it is empowering on different levels and making people feel that they can go out and coach and that the players can go out and recruit and that they can coach as well. I'm lucky enough to have a wonderful co-coach with California Roll. Heather's over here as well. But as we get new players in, we rely on the more senior girls on the team, Hannah and Chloe in particular as captains, to help us with these new players. It's throwing a disc is not intuitive. It takes work. It's a little alien when you first put that piece of plastic in somebody's hand. And so it is all hands on deck, kind of in the fall, getting everybody up to speed on just basic skills. I'm sure you experience this as well at the college level for people who haven't played in high school. And so it's different things.
Yeah, actually, this is great because this was a good segue back because certainly, I can imagine that you can have a lot of similarities in terms of circumstances, but I want to actually go to club. I mean, we sat and we talked about as a club team, do we recruit and retain women? And so if you have any thoughts on that, you're captain at this point. I mean, you're the empowered one.
Well, I think it kind of goes back to even like the YCC programs, like empowering the girls on the team to also recruit. Because on Nightlock we have a captain group of 3 people, and I mean we're all busy, and I feel like some of the other girls on our team might have better relationships with some of the other people that we're getting to try out for us. So it's really important to like empower those people to have those conversations with the girls we're trying to get to try out. And also throughout this entire process, just kind of show our team's culture and our spirit and like kind of display our values in everything that we do. Because I think like historically choosing the people on Nightlock has been a lot of kind of aligning or trying to figure out which players fit with our values and kind of continuing to build that and really have like a core sense of being for our team. Do you have?
I mean, certainly, I'm gonna get back, but I mean, you can see that when you get to that club level, the interests are slightly different because in some ways we're more selective, and I think maybe even Cora could agree with that in terms of just the selectiveness when you get to the point where you have the choice of players, and right now, yes, obviously you're looking for very certain players, but you're also really excited when you have bodies. I mean, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, we're very inclusive, not exclusive, right now. We want to get as many girls excited about it as possible.
Well, so then I'm going to actually ask Speedy this question. Do you think it's a good or bad thing that in some ways we see a more exclusive mentality than an inclusive mentality when you get to club versus youth?
I think that there are still opportunities to play in club, that it's not, obviously there's teams and you have tryouts and there's some teams that people aren't going to be able to play on. It's not like everyone can play on one team. But as you get older, I still think that there are still a lot of opportunities. And I feel, I mean, when When I first started at Cal, I didn't play Ultimate my first semester. I thought I might try to join the crew team. Not to row, to Cox. But, you know, what I found was that, you know, in the crew team, Cal has a really good crew team, really, really highly ranked program, and a lot of the girls there are recruited, and they're just very, very exclusive and very, very not welcoming if you were not part of that recruitment class. And I think that's the special thing about Ultimate, is that if you haven't played, like Lindy was saying, if you haven't played a sport, it's still okay, and you can start at any time, and people are happy to teach you always. At, you know, if anyone just comes up to me or anyone and they're like, you know, throwing in the park or anything, and they want to, you know, ask you about it, I think almost, I mean, really every Ultimate player that I know would be happy to explain what it is and show you, and I think that's just a really special thing about Ultimate. I probably went off on a tangent because I do that sometimes.
No,
Slap's looking at me.
No. Actually, I would be remiss without saying, so Speedy has been, in the few years that I've been coaching Cal, I asked club players to come out to help, basically help prep the girls for big tournaments, and Speedy has been consistently coming out. And it's really what I wanted to get to was, you know, why keep coming out, you know? And is it something that, because, you know, I really like Cora, or is it because you like me? And please say it's because you like me.
It has nothing to do
That's
with
what
you.
happens.
No, I love seeing people learn to love this thing that I love. I think it's like it. I think just from my whole time playing, I feel like what I've gone through has made me want to give back and teach people and hang out more with all these wonderful Pie Queens. I love Pie Queens. They're so fun. It's still, the program is still, I mean, just the spirit of the program is still there. So why wouldn't I want to still be part of that?
Well, so then, Cora, from your perspective, you know, what is it about having club players come to a practice?
Yeah, it definitely shows engagement with, you know, these elite players, players who are more experienced. It's absolutely, it's kind of hilarious sometimes to just see the difference between like a veteran club player and our college women's team, where, you know, we think we're doing pretty well, and then they throw a zone on us and we are absolutely destroyed. We really learn a lot from the club players when they come out, both in terms of their style of play, their decision making, their throws are absolutely amazing. It's really fun to learn from like these more veteran women, and it is like really bringing back to like the community feel of Ultimate, where, you know, it's amazing to have these like club women donate some of their time to our team and help us get better.
Well, so let's go back, because you know, California Roll and Cal have started a sort of a mutually beneficial program where
Yes.
the Cal women's team, the Tarts, is scrimmaging Cali Roll, and so I was hoping if you remember why that came about. Do you remember because I sat with Mad Dog and had dinner with her, and she was telling me the story.
It was actually Mad Dog reached out and said, you know, I hear you guys, but maybe Chloe reached out. Well, Chloe's very proactive about reaching out to a lot of
Do you know?
college teams.
It sounds like something she would do.
Try not to have Chloe. She can't not play Ultimate. She just plays Ultimate all the time. But can I just make a point about retention? Because I think, especially in youth, we're at kind of a developmental stage still. So we have players like Hannah and Chloe who are kind of moved up and are more on a more competitive boys teams, and they're playing at a higher level than some of the other girls that are starting. And we want to really encourage all those girls. Like Lindy said, it's a very inclusive team. But as coaches, I'm throwing it out there to you guys because you're here for coaching, is that it's a balance, and you have to meet the needs of the competitive players and the players who are new. And I don't know what the answer is to that, but I think it's really that's how you're going to retain those 80%. We talked about the 20%, like Chloe and Hannah, who you just can't. They'll play Ultimate no matter what. They'll find a way to play Ultimate. But you'll have, those other 80% who, they like it, they like the community, but what's going to keep them coming back year after year? And I think a lot of that has to do with the climate of the coaches and, pointing out, good plays and bad plays and really encouraging them because it's just an opportunity for all the coaches to really encourage the growth of the program, and especially in the Bay Area. I think it's really growing.
So Aisha, I feel like this is a good place for you to interject.
So we were actually talking about this a little at lunch. So I coach a high school team in Seattle Ingram High School Girls, and this is our second season as a girls program. And we have 2 juniors and no seniors. So the program started with a big flux of freshmen coming in. And last year we were one team, and we had that. We have a couple players who tried out for U20, one player who made U20 recently, and then we had players who were completely new to the sport. And one of the challenges was how do you meet the needs of all of those players? And I can tell you it was very challenging last year. And one of the biggest things I think is growing, because what we were able to do this year is in the second year, we're up to 26 players, which is still not really enough to make 2 full teams per se, but what we did is we're one team. So as a culture, we're inclusive, everyone's part of it, but we've created a 2 squad system. And that 2 squad system kind of let the girls self-select. We didn't have a tryout, and they did a great job of self-selecting, which was pretty cool. Set up a survey in which they had a chance to answer questions about, I feel strong, I feel fast. If I have a test at school tomorrow and a lot of homework and we have a game tomorrow, I'm going to come to practice, I'm not going to come to practice, and what am I going to do? Ultimate's my first priority outside of school. And so giving them kind of all those leading questions and then saying, okay, so we're thinking about having these 2 squads. Squad 1, we're going to be one team, we're going to be working together most of the time, but squad 1 will be a little more heavy on mandatory attendance, will be a little more heavy on extra workouts, will be kind of a little more focused on that. And squad 2 will still be working together and being connected and getting to play and be a little more skills-based, and not as much focus, if you have other things going on, that's okay. And they self-selected into 13-13, which I couldn't have wished for anything better. And that worked out really well. And right now, we're all together most of the week. Squad 1 and 2 have separate games within our, school league. And one day a week we have split practices, and on that one day a week there's a lot of skill-based stuff for squad 2 to get those players up to speed. We have some brand new players right now, and to get them those skills. And squad 1 is focused on strategy, and we just had our first practice last week, and the squad 1 players were just so excited because they're like, oh man, we get to learn, more about breaking the mark and more about, plays in a horizontal stack. And they were just so excited about that idea of learning strategy because that's where they're at. In squad 2, we had some of them kind of lead a lot of the skill stuff, and they came back super excited of, I get to be a leader. I got to kind of captain for the day. That was so cool. I really had a great time doing that. And so everyone was benefiting, and then we came back together all as one team. And so that's something that we've been using. And, when we go to tournaments, obviously a 13-person roster is not going to work. And so kind of pulling some of those squad 2 players who want to be involved at the higher level.
We're envious over here, sorry. Youth Ultimate and especially Girls Ultimate is still very nascent in California. And so we'd be very excited to have 26 players.
We only had about 13 last year, so it was double.
To have a league. We have enough team for all of the high schools in the Bay Area, not just one school.
That'd be awesome.
So
yeah, so that is definitely a dream of ours, is to be able to do that. I think we were excited when we graduated from mini to playing 7-on-7.
Yeah, we started doing that. That's awesome. We did.
Well, I'm going to go back because I think Cora has had a very similar experience starting on the tarts and then now, again, going into a captainship period. I mean, even at a college level, I'm going to interject a little bit, is to say that there's a lot of the same struggles that we're seeing on the youth are very prevalent in college. So, you want to talk a little bit about our fall this year?
Yeah, so everything that you were just saying was resonating with me because that is exactly how our fall season runs. We have this mix of veteran players. We recruit a lot of new people who have never played Ultimate. And then sometimes we also have more and more, we're getting people who have played Youth Ultimate. So they're coming in as rookies, but they're experienced rookies. And so dealing with the balance of the different needs of the players has always been a challenge. So the way that we've kind of approached it, and the way that the captains in the fall approached it, was definitely putting a lot of empowerment on teaching on the veteran players, including the experienced rookies. So we also let the experienced rookies say, okay, we're gonna partner up for throwing exercises. If you've played before, come here. If you haven't played before, come here, and then have the two intermix so that you pair up across the group. So that you have an experienced person who's playing with an inexperienced person who's playing. And that engages the veterans a lot more when they have the opportunity to teach someone. It helps their own skills, to be able to think about their own skills and how to throw, and how to explain to somebody how to throw flick, and things like that. And then we've also traditionally had veteran pods. So experienced players have the opportunity, and the veterans have the opportunity, to get together for about an hour, like an extra hour before or after practice, to do like some scrimmaging or some advanced drills. And then gradually, as we have our new players gaining more skills, we start to say hey, you guys are totally welcome to come to our veteran pods. You're welcome to come to this extra stuff. And the people who really want to take on that challenge do. And that's a way to engage some of the new rookies, some of the new people, to sort of take it to the next level. But it's also kind of a, choose your own adventure, go at your own speed type of thing as well.
Well, so let's take another step back. I mean, you're hearing some tools that coaches are using and captains are using, but I want to still engage, because I think club is such an important component of this. Both of these women here have done a number of clinics and have continued to do clinics, and those clinics, I think, are both college and youth. And so really, other than the fact that Val keeps bugging you to do them, what gets you to do these clinics, and what gets you to keep doing these clinics?
I think the reason that I like doing the clinics is because it feels like I'm giving back so much to the sport that I love. And I know it's a little bit more time sometimes on the weekends, but I think it's really valuable, like Speedy said earlier, to it's really fun to see people starting to love the thing that we love so much. And kind of, I think clinics also, at this point in my life, are a good way to give back to the community, because I would say I don't have quite enough time as I would like to coach. Maybe that's something that I could do in the future, but clinics are kind of, at this point, one-off sorts of things every few months that are much easier to manage within a schedule, especially playing club that's around 6 months out of the year, where almost every weekend we have practice or something, or at least with Nightlock's practice schedule.
Yeah, it's similar to why I like to go and visit with the Pie Queens. I find it really fun to see also the same girls and women, year after year, and just seeing how they improve, and they're always excited to see me too, which is really fun. I don't know, I actually remember I also started women's Goaltimate game in the Bay Area, and I remember when I first started it, there were actually a couple high school girls that came to my game, which I don't know how they heard about it. Sometimes I didn't even have enough people to play, period, and they came out, and now one of them is my teammate, Marissa Rafter, and so I played Goaltimate with her when she was 15 or something, I don't know, and now she's my teammate, and it's really awesome. I think it's really awesome to have the opportunity to, we've already talked about this before, but to play with, older and younger people and have that mix, and I think it's a really valuable thing.
Yeah, and to go off of that really quickly, I also personally really enjoy teaching, and I think clinics and stuff are a good way to teach other people. And actually, I think a couple of years ago, I played with Chloe at DUI for one day. So it's really cool to like see her now like captaining Cali Roll, and you know, like kind of growing up and moving about the Ultimate community. I think there's like a sense of pride also that you have for kind of teaching these people these skills and getting that to see them grow up and like do so many great things. And sometimes it's not even Ultimate related, because you can be like, oh, I feel like at this clinic we worked on this like leadership skill or like some conflict resolution, and then you see them just like in a normal situation using those skills.
Well, so let's go back. So as coaches and players, I mean, what should we do? Should we find club players and knock on their door and tell them to come out? Is that the onus of the coaches at this point?
I think it partially is, absolutely. You know, I think it takes a lot of different people pulling a lot of different directions. You know, but to your point, Lauren, you know, it's easier coaching now that I've retired from playing club. You know, because club requires so many, you know, practicing during the, you know, working out during the week, practicing on the weekends, etc. And so I think, you know, California Roll is always really grateful when the teams run the clinics. Also because, you know, they come in the next day and I see all the new gear that all of them have. Very funny seeing a 12-year-old running around with a Fury t-shirt on. But it is tough, especially as the club season, you know, is incredibly long. And the one thing coming out to the West Coast from the East Coast is the weather's always nice here and everybody plays year-round, whereas you got a little bit of a time off when you were in Philadelphia or Boston. And so, you know, I put that back to you guys. You know, how do we make it easier for you guys to come out? You know, the California Roll, I always welcome guest coaches. You know, if you can't run a clinic, come out for a day and work with us. We're not just inclusive with the girls, we're inclusive with club players and anybody who wants to contribute. It's not about ego, it's about the girls getting better.
I mean, to that end, I mean, we briefly touched on it, but what we were talking about with the tarts and Cali Roll, I need people to understand that part of the reason why the tarts coach reached out was because the tarts did not have field space. And so when we heard that Cali Roll did have field space,
That's the reason why?
We had field space for an hour before regular practice.
The tarts had no field space. So in some ways, recognize that there was a mutual benefit that I think in the end has helped both programs. And I want to say that very seriously. I mean, we could start about, you know, the resource limitations that we have that I think are very unique to the Bay Area. But certainly, I think we're starting to find ways to not only address a field issue, which was a logistic issue, but also address providing access. I mean, you know, as a result, you've got to play with the Tarts for the last 2 years, and I don't know why you didn't pick Cal, but that's cool.
Too close to home.
Oh, you won this
I live down the street.
Well, one of the dilemmas, I think, is playing other teams, because we formed Cali Roll, which is great. We've developed Cali Roll, but now we have no one to play. So it's, you know, scrimmaging the tarts is a great thing, but we've also tried to go to tournaments. And so the DUI is great, and they've always been inclusive, but we've tried to go to Irvine tournament, and they said no high school teams. So that's one thing. It's been a challenge to find other teams to play. You know, league, we tried to do league, but I guess we weren't allowed to go in league this year either. So
Its timing was not convenient.
yeah, so I just, you know, that's part of it is finding, you know, you have your team, you want to build that team chemistry, but you have no one to play against. So the Tarts is great because I think that's an actual legitimate team that they can play rather than just scrimmaging amongst themselves.
And also they're role models for us. We kind of get to see maybe where we can be in a couple years. And we actually had... Yeah, well, actually, there was one girl on Cali Roll who does go to Cal now, Allie. We haven't seen her at the scrimmages we've been at, so if you know her, hawk on her for that. We want to see her.
Short blonde.
Yeah, short blonde.
Yeah.
Allie Matthews.
Lego.
I think she's on Tarts.
Yeah.
We want to see her. But from personal experience, I had a club coach during 6th grade for my ultimate year, and it was so cool just to be able to see where I could possibly be in the future if I kept playing ultimate. And we get that again each time we play Tarts and each time we go to a clinic. So it's really cool.
Well, so we're heading to the point where we actually can open up to questions from the audience. You've heard some variety of stories and backgrounds, but if you have any questions or, I don't know, want to do that.
So my question is probably not for now, for most communities, but all of you talked about community and inclusive and how it's different from other sports. But if you sort of look at how youth, especially Youth Ultimate, has grown in the last 10 years, and you project out 5, 10 years, we start to become every other sport, where you can't take everyone. You have to have tryouts, and it's not a sport for all the players, and you take the best players, and winning becomes more important. So how do we maintain this going forward as the sport becomes more where kids grow up wanting to play Ultimate, where they start in 3rd grade saying, I am training to make varsity at my high school?
This is all open for you guys.
I'll start and then please. I think the answer is more coaches. You know, we came across that at Berkeley, and that everybody is still allowed to play. We're what, at 109 kids this year? We're down to 95. We started at about 108, 109 kids, and we don't turn anybody away. But in order to do that, we've had to bring on more coaches, and it's still providing that thing. But you know, I started coaching high school a decade ago, and it has shifted greatly from these kids who had no idea, they were very uncoordinated, to, you know, I mean, we have kids now that are, you know, on good club teams, you know, in their senior years of high school. However, they're still all spirited kids. They still are encouraging everybody who's coming up in the ranks, from the 6th and the 7th graders and the 8th graders who kind of come out, and then, you know, I think there are different things to do. For example, at Berkeley, we've made a freshman boys team. Freshman boys happen to be marvelous young men, but they're also very uncoordinated at that point.
That's kind.
And so they really love it, and it's been a success for us. Do I think that would work universally? I don't know. But I think it's keeping an open mind and looking for new ways to always make the sport accessible.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in that I think it absolutely is partly on the coaches, creating an atmosphere of spirit. I'd like to highlight something that SLAP does, especially in the fall when new girls are learning about Ultimate and spirit of the game. If SLAP sees someone do something really spirited, she'll actually call a timeout and then highlight that person for having really great spirit. And then the whole huddle is there being like, yeah, that was really awesome. For example, one of our rookies from last year totally skied this girl, and her defender in the process fell down. And our girl caught it, scored the goal, and was like, oh, hey, put her hand down, pulled the person up, gave her a high five, and walked away. And Slap called a timeout and was like, that was awesome. This is spirit of the game. This is what we should be doing and how we should be acting.
I think that this also goes back to something that I think Jude brought up earlier about creating other opportunities. He was talking about kind of that trend of girls who are playing but maybe don't go on to college, where are the opportunities for those girls there? And I think it's about more opportunities, right? When I was in high school, I loved basketball, but I was real bad, and I played point guard, but I loved it. And so I wasn't varsity in high school, but I played at my Boys and Girls Club, right? And I still had a rec league to play in. And so I think it's, once we have this varsity and this high level 5, 10, whatever years down the road, hopefully also then Boys and Girls Clubs around the country are running rec ultimate leagues, that we have that in other places, so players always have that opportunity. We're never turning anyone away from the sport. We're just creating different opportunities that fit the different levels that are out there.
Oh, you do the microphone and the baby at the same time. Yeah, a couple of comments and question too. First of all, we have the field problems down in San Diego a lot. I mean, all the traditional sports get all the fields, and so our high school teams down there, we only have about half a dozen, are having a really hard time playing and getting some playing time, so that's difficult for us. I heard there's a youth division in Irvine tournament. I think it wasn't in just this weekend for high school.
It was if it's the tournament I'm thinking of that's happening this weekend, it's college.
Okay. Well, here's a
Believe me,
plug.
Chloe would have found out if there was a youth.
Here's a plug. We're having a tournament in April, San Diego. It's going to have a high school division, and high school teams are free, so no payment there. So think about that. That's in April. But then we have this discussion all the time. So you guys are club players. You're younger than us. You know, you're still kind of recently out of college. Maybe a little less, or even less so. We're playing against 20-year-olds because we can't keep the women who have gone on to have careers and kids. We don't have them to play against. So what do we do to keep the women, get them back into it? Perhaps because I took 10 years off having kids, got back into it, but I want to see other women do the same thing. But I don't know how to do that, how to make that happen. You know what it is?
Well, I feel like in maybe San Diego specifically, have you heard of the Dude League?
Dude, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe like encouraging them to have like a women's division that maybe only plays every so often, but just an opportunity to invite more women out. Because I know that league sometimes can be pretty competitive, and it's sometimes maybe intimidating for people who haven't played in a while. But also like when I played in that league when I was down in San Diego, I think going back to the great thing about Ultimate, it's like being really encouraging of the people. And I also think now that more people have played Ultimate in the past and want to get back into it, it could be time to kind of like talk to the board and say like, hey, we have this idea, you know, because we have like this many people who like maybe didn't necessarily get drafted in the league or didn't sign up in time, but want to still have opportunities to play. You know, can we have one of your fields for 2 hours every other week? And, you know, like have one more bye for the mixed division or like the mixed league. I think it's like that partnership like with Cali Roll and the Tarts, just kind of trying to figure out mutually beneficial things, because I do realize like fields everywhere are so hard to find now, especially in California, I think.
I mean, I'm going to also add, and I'm moderating, but I can talk. You know, I grew up in San Diego, the ultimate scene in San Diego, and I met my mentors through Goldie. And these were women who had retired from playing, and they'd had kids, they had careers, and I played Goldie with them once a week. And they didn't care that I was half their age. And I grew up very quickly with some of these women. But I loved that experience, and I felt like they appreciated it because they wanted to play. They wanted someone to come out and play. But more importantly, they got a chance to talk to me about Frisbee and tell me about the things that they had done, the nationals they had been through, how they'd played in Hawaii and this and that. And being around these women made me want to keep playing. And so I think it's not even so much about how can we play, it's what will bring back that spark as to remember why you guys played. And I think it's so much to do with having that young blood when you go back and you meet a 16-year-old who now is your teammate. I mean, that keeps you playing, and it really does. It keeps you playing, and you know, it's mutually beneficial in the sense that you have the bodies that you need, but more importantly, it gives you that vitality that makes you want to keep playing.
I think women forget about it. I think women forget.
Yeah.
You know, you can go out there, you can have fun. It's still okay to have fun. You might have kids. You can still be a kid.
I mean, I babysat all their kids on the sideline. I mean, that's what we did. That was what your role was. First of all, you had to clear deep, okay? And then you had to babysit the kids. That was your role. That's the only way you had to play down in San Diego.
I think.
So she didn't want to go close to home, so sorry about that. But what I wanted to say was that I really appreciate that there's this conference on it. So being the mother of a young girl who wants to play Ultimate, it's just heartbreaking when they come home and say things like, none of the boys would throw the disc to me, or you know, the coach isn't even talking to me, that kind of thing. So I think for us it's been really about, are there coaches who can relate to, whether you're a man or a woman, but a coach who understands teenage girls and can relate to the teenage girls and listen to the teenage girls and understand them, and to really remind the players and the captains of the teams, because right now a lot of schools are in transition, right? A lot of them have boys teams with girls, or mixed teams, but whoever the captains are, you're the captain of every single player. You're not just the captain of your friends or anything like that. And so I think that's something that the Berkeley coaches have worked really hard on. I know El Cerrito has worked really hard with that, and some of the other schools in the area.
Juliet, before moving there, you mentioned something important, the field space. And I think it's important because it's clear what the benefit for youth to have college or club or coaches. But there is also advantage for the club and college to go out and do something with you. And you mentioned one, can be field space, but also teaching is learning. So while the club player is teaching, also a good way to learn. There is also leadership opportunity, like younger or less experienced player that can have the opportunity to teach youth, and it's a great way for the team to see them in the leadership role. And so those are things that, and recruit. You mentioned now, Anna leaving, but soon these girls are going to look at a college that have a good ultimate team. So if you establish those relationships, they might stick in California, in Berkeley, and maybe join the club team they experienced in the past, some good relationship. So there are benefits, and I think if we underline those benefits for the club and the college, we can recruit more coaches.
Underlying point, have your girls come to Cal.
You're all role models, and I'm wondering if you have a challenge that you'd like to share that you've experienced navigating that role, and maybe a strategy for how you overcame it.
Well, you're starting.
Oh, outstanding. I think the challenge we've talked about it, which is being inclusive at the youth level, and that you get young women like Hannah and Chloe who are very talented and they keep getting better and better. But as you keep getting very raw individuals coming onto the team, that you have to teach them, you have to get them up to speed. So it's making sure that they stay interested, while making sure that you hook the younger ones. We've tried to balance it. I think sometimes we succeed and sometimes we fail at it. I think where we succeed is when we get help, when we get clinics, and when we get guest coaches coming in and keeping things fresh, and giving them role models, but also not just solidifying, but teaching them new skills. Heroes.
Basically the same thing. Sometimes it's really fun to teach the new girls how to play, but sometimes I kind of just I want to challenge myself to not to teach, but to be a better player. And so I kind of get that outlet on other teams as opposed to the girls' team. So I play on YCC, and my coach is back there. He's looking around like, what? But it's super, super fun to play on that team, and that's kind of the place where I get to challenge myself as just as a member of the team rather than as a leader of the team. So that way I get to work on becoming better as a player, as opposed to just being a better player and a leader at the same time, so I can focus on different things and then bring that back with me to the girls' team and teach them what I learned. So.
I also wanted to make a quick comment on the challenge of building a positive, inclusive, and challenging environment, challenging to the players. Something that our team does, and I'm sure that other teams do, is having a preseason meeting. So once the team is set or selected, or just at the beginning of the season, you all sit down together and you talk about where you want to go, what you want to do, what kind of culture you want to build. And I think to highlight what Slap did again this year was she moderated our meeting. So she was there and she moderated the meeting, and she steered us away from performance stuff and more towards culture, and how to build culture and how to build a team that's positive and has this inner drive to always rise and be better team. I think that's something that a coach can really do to help the vibe of the team.
I think something that I have had, sorry Val, is that as a role model, the thing that has been most challenging for me in coaching over the last couple of years and coaching high school girls is trying to help serve the emotional needs of the team, not just the on-field needs. And when you have different players who put a lot of pressure on themselves as players to play really well, or players who are just overwhelmed with school or going through a rough time, and trying to meet all of those needs as a coach. Your job as a coach isn't just to teach skills on the field. And for me, that was sometimes really hard because it was exhausting, and it could be exhausting emotionally. And the place that I found strength in doing that was to be very transparent from day one about, you're at where you're at, and you come to practice where you're at, and I want you to feel comfortable at practice in that space. And so at the beginning of every practice, we do one word of where we're at, and it gives me a good feel of where the team's at going into the practice, so we're not halfway in the practice and then I have someone crying on the sideline or someone or whatever, I know that everyone's overwhelmed. Maybe that was a hard week at school, or, and just really making it okay. And making it okay for us all to acknowledge as a team, this is where I'm at. And I do the same with them, meeting them there and being vulnerable in return of, hey, I'm exhausted, or, wherever I'm at. I was, half changed the other day at practice and had, sports bra hanging off one of my ears as we're, trying to have this huddle. And I was like, I'm awkward today. This is where I'm at. And, just being real with them that, I'm here and relatable.